So what, you don't know how to sew yet? Let's fix that. On today's episode of So Cute, So Easy, we are going to make a simple skirt. And when I say simple, I mean it. We're just making a regular elastic waistband skirt, no bells, no whistles. First things first, you're going to go in your closet and find your favorite skirt, preferably one that is stretchy or has a similar material to the fabric you're using for your new skirt. This skirt is going to be the pattern for the skirt that you're creating. However, if you want to make some more skirts like this in the future, I'd recommend creating a paper pattern. You can use whatever paper you have at home already. I use Christmas wrapping, but you don't have to do that. You can just use the skirt as your actual pattern for a one and done. If making a paper pattern, place the skirt on the paper and trace out the shape, adding 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch of space around the perimeter so you can have some seam allowance. This is important to make sure your skirt won't be too tight, and if anything, give yourself a little more room here than you think you might actually need. Next, fold your fabric in half and have the ugly side facing outwards. Lay it flat and place your pattern or skirt on top of it. Before you start tracing, make sure the stretch of your fabric is going horizontal so it will stretch with your body. Then trace the pattern to the exact size that you cut, or trace the skirt with the added seam allowance. Once everything is drawn, cut both layers of the skirt, keeping the fabric as flat as possible. Okay, boom. Now you have 2 pieces. Use pins or clips to secure the sides of the skirt together. Try your best to keep everything aligned. Now it's time to move to your sewing machine. Make sure your stitch type is a straight stitch, and if your fabric is stretchy, I'd recommend a stitch length of 2 or 2.5 and a tension of 4. Okay, you're ready to sew. All you need to do is sew a straight stitch from the top of the 2 layers of fabric to the bottom of the 2 layers. Make sure you use that reverse button on your machine near the top of the skirt and again at the bottom to backstitch, and make sure that nothing will come undone. Take your time with this part. You do not have to move fast at all, and just do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once you've made it to the bottom and backstitched, you're going to turn the skirt around and sew the other side. Now that that's done, you have a skirt. Yes! Try on your creation and make sure it fits how you like. If you need to make adjustments, go ahead and do that. Then let's finish the insides. Cut off the excess fabric from the sides, then use a zigzag stitch to create a nice finished edge. You can also get this look using a serger. Next, you're going to add your elastic. Wrap the elastic around where you want the top of your skirt to hit, pull it to make it a little bit tighter, and then cut it. Take the elastic to the sewing machine, place the ends on top of each other, and sew a zigzag stitch. Go over it a few times to make sure it's secure. You should have a perfect circle now. Fold the elastic in half and mark where it lands, then fold it in half again and mark the sides. You're going to do the same thing with the inside of your skirt, creating 4 points to connect the elastic to. I just used pins because I was being lazy. The skirt should be flipped inside out, and you'll pin the part of the elastic where you made your stitch to the midpoint of the back of the skirt. You'll do this lining up all 4 points. Once they're pinned together, go to your sewing machine and use a zigzag stitch to sew them together. The elastic can be a little tricky, so I recommend holding it taut at the top when you start sewing and also using your other hand to stretch it out at the bottom for best results. Once you've made it all the way around the skirt, backstitch and cut your thread. Try your skirt on again. As you can see, mine isn't perfect, but it's good enough. I prefer the elastic band look with no top stitch, so I'll just fold my elastic band under it and leave it like this. Lastly, I go in and double fold my fabric at the bottom, pin it, and sew a zigzag stitch around the bottom. That's it. Try your skirt on one last time and admire your hard work. Remember, you can use this method with almost any length stretchy skirt. All you need is a reference from your closet. Hopefully, I explained that well enough to help at least one person, but if you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what other tutorials you want to see on So Cute, So Easy. See you soon. Bye.